Re-investigate to clarify the truth of the JAL Flight 123 crash. Do you know the Japan Airlines Flight 123 plane crash that happened 35 years ago? It's still the most deadliest disaster in aviation history. A large number of books has been published treating this disaster from various fields and viewpoints. Among them, there is even a bestseller that has marked 100,000 copies in recent years. Based on these publications, a large number of YouTube videos by readers also has been posted on the internet, and many people keep commenting to them. It is an unsolved, ongoing issue. This shows the JAL123 crash that occurred on August 12, 1985, remains with numerous questions and suspicions unanswered yet. Moreover, an official document made by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was also recently found as new important evidence. It was an emergency fax sent just 2 days after the crash by then U.S. President Ronald Reagan, addressed to the Japanese Prime Minister Nakasone, which is titled and translated to Japanese, JAL Crash Incident Note. Not accident. Reagan's fax stated that U.S. members would immediately be dispatched to Japan. Described in Toko Aoyama's new book, Overturning the Pressure Bulkhead Theory of the JAL123 Crash, new facts and evidence keep appearing through indomitable efforts made by many people concerned. I took part in the July 16 symposium held at Waseda University in Tokyo last year, through which, I got determined to make all possible efforts to find out the truth of the incident, collaborating with the bereaved families and other related parties. I also read over 15 related books. Suspicious points. On the day of the accident, the Japanese government refused a relief offer made by the U.S. military, who arrived at the scene 20 minutes after the crash. Moreover, the government stopped and delayed its own rescue works until the following day. While having correctly identified the location of the crash through U.S. military information, the Japanese government intentionally picked and publicly released the false information made by an unnamed person saying, "Crash took place at Budo-Toge in Nagano Prefecture." Moreover, through the media, it omitted false information about the crash location 6 times. Meanwhile, it ignored correct information offered by local villages and blocked entry into the site. 14 years after the crash, the Accident Investigation Committee discarded the whole materials and documents related to the crash, which amounted to 1 ton in weight, just before the Information Disclosure Law came into effect. 26 years after the crash, Japan Transport Safety Board, successor of the AIC, involving leading members of the Bereaved Families Association, prepared, explanatory to the accident investigation report, and deceived them with a hypothesis described in it. Some documents made at this occasion admit the contradictions lying in the bulkhead destruction theory. 1 year after the elaboration of this explanatory document, the JTSB held a commentary meeting, in order to convince the bereaved families with the bulkhead destruction theory, a hypothesis of the cause of the accident. August 12 Liaison Committee, the Bereaved Families Association suddenly abandoned its original policy of seeking a thorough elucidation of the cause of the accident, and became a body for holding memorial events only. 50 citizens and 1 self-defense force member witnessed abnormalities in the air before the crash took place, which were not officially announced. The SDF collected and concealed wreckage at the crash site in a dubious manner. A photo of flying object taken by a victim passenger from the aircraft cabin. Burned twice remarks by autopsy doctors regarding the carbonized bodies of victims. The government keeps ignoring that Sagami Bay wreckage, discovered in 2015. Intentional destruction of the rear pressure bulkhead carried out by the SDF at the crash site. The media also abandons their duty of fair and objective reporting and cooperates with the authorities in concealing the truth. And many more facts have been confirmed. To summarize, the true figure of this accident has remained unknown until today. 520 victims have lost their lives in vain. Many of the 3,000 bereaved families, who were suddenly thrown into total desperation, are unable to even calmly wish their loved ones may rest in peace. Until today, bereaved families and their collaborators have made accusation 5 times, collected over 260,000 signatures, and petitioned a revision of the determination to the Japanese government, during the period in which Democratic Party was in power. However, no one was in the end judged by court, and the incident remains as a case without any person charged for the loss of 520 lives. Bereaved families are not convinced with the unclear explanation made by the Accident Investigation Committee. After 35 years from the crash, however, many of them have been obliged, for their age, to abandon their effort for seeking justice. Mr. O, a bereaved, is a person who has maintained extraordinary strength for seeking the truth. I attended for the first time in 2019, the August 12 memorial ceremony, which is annually celebrated. There I saw Mr. O handing over to each participant his self-made flyers appealing for a reinvestigation of the crash, although some even refused to receive them. Tears fell down on my cheeks. Many years were required after the accident for him to recover his mental stability. Overcoming the great sorrow which he suffered for a long time, Mr. O got determined to fight for seeking the truth. He lost his loved ones by this accident and needed a large amount of mental care. We cannot imagine how painful for a bereaved like him to continue this activity. Now we have successfully set up the August 12 Liaison Committee, Accident Investigation Subcommittee. My encounter with Mr. O has become a locomotive for achieving it. On top, through my own investigation activities, surprisingly enough, I got to know the fact that 6 victims from 2 families had a personal relation with me, of which I had not been aware. For the sake of these people too, I got determined to dedicate all I have in seeking the truth. There are also many people working in the aviation industry who still keep questioning the officially announced information. The Japanese government has made no sincere response to voices made in various fields and kept refusing the reinvestigation that many people required over 35 years. It keeps silent even after the discovery of the aircraft's wreckage on the seabed of Sagami Bay in 2015. Moreover, Japan Airlines has not even internally publicized the flight's live voice recorder for educational and safety purposes, although those of all the other troubled airplanes have openly been studied. The unique exception is the JAL Flight 123. For the last 4 years I read many books, investigated on my own the crash site in Ueno village, checked online information, and exchanged opinions with bereaved families as well as with other concerned people including airline pilots. Through all these, I cannot help convincing myself that a tremendous unknown force has been working for hiding the truth behind this incident. In any case, I believe the truth should be revealed for the sake of the 520 victims, who still cannot rest in peace. This year, marking the 35th year anniversary of the crash, we should definitely put an end to this outrageous situation and require a reinvestigation to the Japanese government. We need to do so for the sake of the bereaved families who are aging year by year as well as for the sake of establishing safety in aviation. Essential points of re-investigation. 1. The photograph of a flying object taken from the aircraft cabin, that supports the basis for the plane being destroyed by an external factor. 2. Testimony of the survivors, which denies the bulkhead destruction theory mentioned in the official accident report. Analysis of the cause of the sudden crash after the flight for 32 minutes from takeoff. Verification of the alleged existence of a large number of other survivors after the crash. 3. Contradiction between the DFDR digital flight data recorder and eyewitness testimony. 4. Eyewitness testimony and reports of the air vehicles observed before the crash, which is not mentioned in official announcement. 5. Investigation of the 600 meters before the crash point, at which the aircraft's fourth engine was suspected to be shot by a missile. Remnants of other military vehicles found at the crash site. Their eyewitness reports. 6. Testimony by the survivors and autopsy doctors who allege the existence of a large number of other possible survivors who were not rescued. Remains found at the crash site. testimonies made by persons who immediately arrived at the site after the crash. 7. Wreckage of the aircraft found on the seabed of Sagami Bay in 2015. 8. Contents of the official CVR cockpit voice recorder, which is exceptionally treated as confidential inside Japan Airlines. 9. The body and uniform of the aircraft captain that uniquely missed from the remnants of the cockpit. 10. Eyewitness testimony of other survivors who allegedly existed on the day of the rescue of the 4 survivors officially acknowledged. 11. Verification of the guidance education unofficially given 4 times in 2011, 26 years after the crash, to leading members of the Bereaved Families Association in order to convince them with the bulkhead destruction theory.